What's up, Crouch fam? How you guys doing? We got a live episode for you guys today. Bit of a different look, bit of a different feel. Doing something a little bit different in general. Guys, 249, it's an official pre-show. And kind of just thought like, well, I don't really have time to record tonight. Why don't we do something different? Why don't we just fuck it, run it live?
I mean, in the most screw it, we'll do it live fashion, AVRL has gotten together and is pulled together, I think, a great little show. Obviously, you know, letting us use his Twitch channel, and we're doing a live podcast again. I can't say that we're gonna do too many of these, but in the moments that we can, we'll be here, and we have some fun things to talk about and some things to also announce. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, cool. And there's going to be a co-stream right after this, so we've started this almost exactly 2 hours before. 1 hour 50. I needed an extra 10 minutes to set up before the games go live today. So what this means is basically when we will end the podcast when the games go live today, and then I'll be doing my regular co-stream. These guys will stick around for a bit, and you guys are welcome to hang around and watch the games with everyone if you want. So that's how today's going to run through. So let's see if we can fit it all in 1 hour 50. We should be able to. We all understand there's a hard stop today. It's probably not going to be too much. We'll do a bit of a preview for the matches, but being that this is going to be an actual episode as well that gets uploaded to all the normal platforms, you're probably going to end up hearing about all of this kind of stuff into the future. If you're actually, hello YouTube and Spotify listeners, right? You're like, oh, but the game's already happened, so hello in the future.
Okay.
All right, guys, let's just kick this off. There's not too much preamble here, so without further ado, episode 249 brought to you by Avril Vista Baby, Battle Crab, Refined Bean, Bronzebot Booha. Philadelphia's more of a stage 3 team anyway. Chris R3444. She changed that to Philadelphia's more of a lower bracket team anyway. Casher67, Lolshin, Porkchop Semi, Rick Zane, Volamel Smooth Nuts, and Your Misery. Look, if you know, you know. They did drop down. With YouTube members, Item Jello, William Jesse, Vishmam, Free Element 6, AK, and Chris R. Before we talk about the actual results in the games, though, we actually do have an announcement to make. So recently, we entered into a bit of an exciting new partnership. Hopefully, one of many upcoming. But it is brand new for us, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Disclaimer. I think we all understand that we had talked about this company before because we do believe in it, and I think that's partly why this sponsorship makes a lot of sense and this partnership makes a lot of sense. But for those who aren't necessarily following the socials, maybe not necessarily completely tuned in, TCP and Juked, the new social media platform, formerly coming from the minds of Chan Man and Fish Sticks. So, some of the old heads might remember. We're in a partnership with them, and we're partnering them for the next month, doing a couple, doing some stuff, trying to connect with the community in some ways. And the way that we've kind of done that is we've created this kind of award to kind of celebrate both the community and the Overwatch League itself. But to explain kind of what Juked is, it's this kind of fun mashup of like think of like your middle school self and like the agendas that you have to get signed. I know there's got to be somebody out there that also had this experience. It has all of the scheduling. It has all of your favorite esports like content. It's being pushed at you on like a social media platform that isn't just Reddit and Twitter. These other platforms just don't have the capacity to have any kind of long form or meaningful discussion. So like, not only is this a content aggregation app, but it's also there to kind of like create a community. And, I think we have our own little community around Tactical Crouch that we go into, and we have these fun live events and we have these live shows. And last night we were talking about doing a game night again, TBD on when that happens, but we will let you know. And, if you follow us on Juke, maybe you'll also be notified there as well. But we are working with them. They're creating a really cool tool. And this makes a lot of sense, I think, for the both of us. So all of our content's going to be on there as well. Going to be pushing live to you guys that way. And the way that we've kind of done this, we've kind of found a little creative solution to this partnership is that, again, we've created this award, the Juked MVP of the Week award, and we want to put it out there. We want to kind of pose a question to you guys and, showcase some of the bigger brains, the foreheads, the OG members of the community, and some of the more creative comments, let's say, or nominees of the award. And we've got a couple to share today. Some of them a little bit more outrageous, let's say. But the award this week was looking at the early votes for the MVP of the Midseason Madness, right? And we had, I was pleasantly surprised with the turnout, but we've got some familiar faces of the Overwatch community and some of the the TCP regulars. Be nice, I see you. Just don't shit in my pants, okay? I'm just saying. You gotta keep that to yourself. But we've got, again, the award looking at, the early votes for MVP for Midseason Madness. And, we've got Bradley, I believe, Overwatch League producer and observer, member of the staff over there, coming out and giving a shine to Finn, who's been outstanding. I think AVRL, this is another one of your boys coming in, right?
He is. He went over to the dark side, though.
The NA side?
The NAs. We go on, Yiska.
It's actually quite interesting because a lot of people seem to nominate Flex Support, which I don't disagree with. Also, when I talked to M3 was like, our backline is dying a lot, and Glads is probably going to be very good because they have great backline synergy and Shu is a nut job. So I feel like that there are some smart suggestions in there. I think that might actually be the matter where Flex Support really matters again.
Are we doing the Player of the Week today? I should be
less of the. Don't think of it necessarily as a Player of the Week, but we're getting in touch with the community and getting their takes on this. I think this could change in the future. We may actually tally votes and achieve in a winner. But the Juked MVP is not only showcasing some of your guys' favorite picks, but again, none of this is really possible without you guys. And I say that in the most genuine way because we wouldn't be here if you weren't here, and this partnership wouldn't happen if you weren't here. So again, alrighty, it's a win-win all around. True.
So you let me know then. It sounds like not today, but we'll get to that. We will get to that. All right. Midseason Madness. So couple cool things that are happening. Let's just get through this really quickly because I mean, this is pretty new. Won't spend too long on this one because we don't usually do reviews and stuff. But here we go. Yeah. Thought this was interesting to look at. Once it comes up. Royal Knight Mercy skin has been announced. This is trust me, this is gonna be short, but this was kind of apparently the Mercy community subreddit or something like that. They had an inkling of the fact that this was gonna come up. So
really,
yeah, apparently they had a leak. There was a real leak that was happening.
Oh no shit!
But everyone's like, well, where's the new skin? We don't know about the new skin yet. Because we had the Reaper one. But then they never announced another one for Midseason Madness, so finally here it is. Mercy Joust skin.
I think it was Mr. X or it was somebody from Overwatch League Brass that had tweeted the explanation of this, how this is the June Joust replacement, the June Journament, and I was like, how does the Royal Knight fit with Madness or the midseason? So I was like, okay,
Mercy,
it wasn't completely obvious.
You have to be mad to play her. I think that's what it is.
Sure, that's one way to look at it. That's certainly on brand.
It's on brand for me.
But I mean, it is a cool skin. I mean, not my favorite character, but the skin's pretty cool. I don't know. Check it out.
Fun fact, it's her second Overwatch League skin because she's got an All-Star one as well.
Yeah. It's also pretty good.
It is. Yeah. It is. And I wasn't joking when I said this in a previous episode, but I have only got 2 golden guns in all of Overwatch. One is Anna, the other one is Mercy.
Is it a spite Mercy golden gun? You're just
I got it at the time because I was playing a lot of Mercy because I wasn't playing pro, but I was scrimming.
Sure.
And I was actively competing. So back then when you play main support, your 2 heroes were Mercy and Lucio, legitimately. Yeah. And back then as well, no one knew how to play Lucio. Everyone was a ground Lucio, so I never did wall riding and stuff. I was literally a ground Lucio and an occasional Mercy player. And I was like, well, I only play 2 heroes competitively. One's Mercy and one's Lucio. And I was like, I'll probably get the Mercy skin first and maybe get the Lucio one later. And then by the time I got around to the second golden gun, I was like, I'm not even playing these heroes anymore. I play mostly Ana now, so I'm just going to get that instead. But that's kind of how it worked. So My love-hate relationship with Mercy is that's how it goes. You know, I she has one of my 2 golden guns. Anyway, I told you we weren't going to stay too long on this one. Yeah, this was a very brief flyby. This one is our little guardian angel towards the skin, and then just like the new changes, we're going to boost ourselves up and just fly on the fuck out of there. So, we got to cover drama. You know, this is a TMZ broadcast. So here we go. You ready to cover some drama? You know what it is. You know what it is. Yeah, we'll cover this briefly. Well, we'll see. We'll just cover it. Just gonna cover it. I don't know what time we'll attribute it. I feel like it's worth covering. I feel like people want to know about stuff like this. Long story. I'll just explain the situation and then we'll discuss it. Poco sent out a tweet. I believe this was the original tweet. He had a photo of the setup. This is the match room setup. So when you tune into Midseason Madness, you will see the setup in terms of like, you know, the backdrop, the tables and stuff as well. And originally they were going to do both the teams directly facing each other, like inches away. Like this is very close, right? They're very close enough that people were joking like they could play footsies with the other team underneath the tables, right? It's just shit like that. Like if you wanted to punch somebody on the other team, you could just like reach out and grab them or something, like something stupid like that. But the main concerns were that audio bleed would be a problem, and you could potentially hear the other team's comms. That was the main issue. That and I just think this looks a little bit old. This looks outdated, right? This looks like an amateur LAN. I think that's the other thing. So Jake says, non-standard competition desk. Who plays with a curved desk? That's another issue. So I believe there's some curved desks in there. And players isn't close enough to hear each other's comms, especially between rounds. We were told this morning that nothing is going to be fixed. The update is they did eventually fix this. So if you've watched the actual Midseason Madness now and you look at the player cams, especially the wide shot, you'll notice that all the players are now shoved against the wall. So what they've done is, you see these 2 walls here, they basically added as much of a gap in the middle as possible. So the players are basically have their backs to the wall, which helps. It's still not as good as it could be, but it's something. So I'm glad they at least did something. All right, opinions, guys. Opinions.
The problem is that it created a new issue, right? Because, you know, like the other things, like you see the walls, right? And I believe left and right side of that could be wrong, but like the point is the rest of the room is usually used for PPA stations where teams that are warming up would be prior to their games. Now that is my understanding that this has been impeded, you know? So yeah, it's not a great situation, of course, but yeah, I don't know, like if we want to get into, because here's my, I'll extend a hand to everyone who wants to feels very smug and smart about that situation, because I feel like we're in dogpile mode where everyone in the esports industry once again has the ability to get a shot in on Overwatch. I sincerely believe that this is just like a situation that is expected, and I don't think anyone really made any, you know, like ridiculous mistakes other than what you reasonably could say is like the amount of teams there is probably questionable. I think the tables there are questionable. I think they're like the quality of the PPA stations. I think everything else can heavily be argued that this is unfortunately close to optimal as to what this community can support.
Yeah, it's again, it's not ideal and it's sad. And I think it sucks that you're right that it is kind of partially correct that this is kind of where we are currently. It's frustrating that we can't be we haven't really found the right balance of solution where we have too many teams or we don't have too little teams, but we still want to have like a LAN environment, but we also can't have a LAN environment because of COVID and because we have such a huge like presence in Asia. It's tough. And I do give leeway to the league, but I think it's starting to run a little thin. I don't think this is like a great dog pile. Like it's produced some funny memes, and I think Yiska, I think you pointed out something kind of interesting the other day as well. Like this very well could have been, if things weren't changed and like we did get this shot, like using Jake's tweet here, as just the shot of like a camera position, you can get some like pretty comical like shots of like maybe Hottie standing up and like shouting at Atlanta like mid-match. Again, I speak in hypotheticals here and ways to kind of save this circumstance. It's not ideal. It sucks that this is the expectation. Hopefully we have solutions for the finals and we have solutions for next year that are a little bit better than playing in a science lab in a university. But even then, I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, that was intended, right? That's the entire point. This is Plan C. Like,
yes, yeah.
Like Plan B. I don't even know. I don't think there's a Plan C. I don't know.
Yeah.
Plan C would be everything
That's like
cancelled,
if you
guys.
COVID.
No more mid-season. It's some fair criticism. I don't want to sound like we're just like defending it all completely either.
No.
I think there's some fair criticism. No, this is pretty lame compared to doing an actual LAN. And I think it is a bit tiring to see that every other esport gets constant LANs that look great. It's a little rough, especially considering that just around the corner is.
Then those people that want that gotta make some sacrifices to the LAN god. Like, you gotta tell me, like, do you not want international competition with Chinese teams? Because that's what you're giving up.
That would be
if that's fine with you.
The solution. The solution would be we don't have international. We just do another NA LAN, and Asia does their thing again online.
And I'm not mad at that. Like, if we just have one international event,
I am.
Okay.
No, just the end of season playoffs. Pack it up.
I think it gets a little boring. I'm on the same page with this. It gets a little bit boring if we're just doing 3 NA versus NA LANs and then 3 Asia versus Asia things. Especially, I hate to say this, but APAC can get really boring that way when there's only 7 teams. You're seeing the same fucking teams playing the same domestic over and over and over. So like, I was dying for an international because like, I need to see me some Glads versus Seoul kind of shit, right? I need to see that. I can't do 3 domestic competitions and then just one final global thing if we even get that. As far as I know, Plan A for the playoffs and the finals is going to be LAN. So that's Plan A again. They got a long time to figure that shit out before we get there. So a lot of room for improvement from where we are here. One extra thing I wanted to bring up is they actually did fix the curve table. So Jake was talking about the curved discs here. They actually did replace those with straight discs as well. So credit where credit is due. They did actually try and fix it because he also said that we were told this morning nothing was going to be changed or fixed. That obviously ended up being that the league decided maybe we should do something about it, and then they did change it. So they tried to do something. What I want to highlight here is actually a thread right below with Stylosa and a person called Luke Hooper-Hoa, who actually, I believe, works for the University of Manoa, or at least this person is a part of the setup or is a part of the whole thing going on at Project Aloha, correct? So I just want to go through,
at least involved or included,
I just want to go through this thread because I feel like this person adds a lot of reasonable insight into how things are and why they are. And Solos asked some good questions as well. Okay, so here's what he says. He means begs belief, but it beggars belief the absolute state of OWL sometimes. I'm sure whoever is responsible for this trash setup will blame lack of resources or some other crap. I refuse to believe having rooms for each team would be beyond their budget scope. The response. It's not a budget issue. It's the fact that it's being hosted in a literal active college campus and there's not enough available rooms. True story. There's a lot more in-person classes this summer than last, so there's less free space than last summer, in addition to way more teams flying out. Also true, there's 8 teams going to Hawaii now instead of 2. Last year, for Hawaii events, only 2 North American teams went. Now there's 8. So why use this venue? Because it's the only non-military, non-medical facility with access to the undersea cable to Tokyo that allows for decent connection. The only other option for inter-region tournaments is to fly all of the NA teams out to Asia, which would put them at an even bigger disadvantage. There's also visa implications there as well, so it's not just like how long they're flying, but to be fair, I think this would have been a good solution maybe to get everyone to Korea, and that's something that other people have latched onto. It's a fair solution.
Yes, but it's a logistical, like by the time the NA situation was cleared, it's practically impossible to make that work. And you're gambling, right? Like it looked like they could have done it, then China closes down. They could have said like, let's start in Korea, but like there's only one organization local, or two, I guess, with T1 as well, where you even have any connection there that you could host something like that, and then you would have to make that call. Who knows if Korea is locked down by the time you had to make that shot? Like, people need to work with the realities that when the decision had to be made, that's when that call is feasible. So
Korea actually has another COVID wave at the moment. That's why Fusion actually, a bunch of them caught COVID, and that's why they're not in the facility right now. That's a little bit of a upsetting situation from the Philadelphia Fusion home base in T1. But continuing with the thread, Stylosa says, there have to be other options. Riot fly all teams out to Iceland for VCT. Thanks for the clarification on the internet situation. VCT doesn't have any Chinese teams, whereas a full quarter of Overwatch League teams are Chinese. China has the most prohibitive COVID lockdowns protocols right now, so the Chinese teams wouldn't be able to fly anywhere. There must be better solutions than this, though. Even using Hawaii, you'd think the multi-million-dollar esports league could have a bigger space for the duration of the event. Everyone can agree that the whole situation is really bad, but they're still waiting on someone to suggest something that's better. It's a bad situation that doesn't have a single good way to address it.
Agreed.
And that's about the end of that. I don't think Luke has any further responses. So, there's some other takes in here, but we'll end it at what Luke says. So, it's essentially, the end of the story is, the end of this discussion between Stylosa and Luke is that this is the hand that we've been dealt. These are the cards that we've been dealt.
Yeah.
And we're simply gonna have to deal with it the best we can.
Yeah.
Is the short story, the short version of the story.
Yeah,
Yep.
I looked at, because I knew about the situation a little bit beforehand. I went down the decisions tree where they could have feasibly made better decisions. I think realistically the only thing that was a little bit iffy is the amount of teams invited. I think had you had less teams, then you have less teams requiring practice PPAs if you know that your space is limited. But finding a fair split is also challenging. Feasibly, the only thing that you could do is 5-3, but 5-3s and 5 out of 13 teams. Is that fair to 3 out of 8 teams?
London gets screwed. Teams like London wouldn't make it then. And that doesn't feel good, right?
That's also true.
Considering London's Cinderella story, that would be fucking shitty for them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it is the hand that we have been dealt, and to kind of like, not rebut, but to kind of better explain the point of like, maybe we just try to focus on creating live events. I do believe that like at the heart of hearts for this audience, we desperately need butts in seats, and we need people to like experience the live event that is Overwatch, but also seeing these players and how excited they are and how disappointed they are when they lose, and like really connecting with them. I do believe that like at the soul of this game, the audience needs to connect with the players, and we're still having a hard time getting like the webcams working. And like, I'm not huge on that solution, but like that's what we've got, and it's already still being an issue. So like there's a lot of logistics in this that like we're having a hard time tackling. So maybe we just need to shelf international competition until we can like really get it right. That's my take.
No, this is way better. Okay, you guys need to get off the offline train. Nobody gives there's so much apathy towards like a venue that isn't stellar. Unless you're VCT and have like the most incredible stage, nobody gives a fuck about your live setup. Like, okay, you get people into seats, that would be nice. That's all fine and dandy. Nobody gives a fuck from the viewing perspective. You gotta get off your horse and try to find like any sort of like approach in order to feign some professionalism. This is not the scene for it. Like, whenever we scuff, we're getting viewership. Everything that's scuffed in this league is getting more viewership than non-organic, like over-polished shit. That's
sure.
Just, like,
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But I think it's just how or what the vehicle is for the scuff, right? Like, if we want, somebody's cat to vote on the hero bans, I'm all for it. Like, that's content. That, it's a little goofy, but go for it. But if we're playing in a science lab with desks next to each other and like,
yeah, I mean,
it's
the competitive integrity of
bad
the problem,
scuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's same, but different.
So yeah, I mean, it's like if we want international competition, we have to go to Hawaii because we can't fly the Asian teams over. We're also not able to fly the NA teams over to Asia because of that's a logistical. Maybe we could have. I'm not gonna say it was impossible, but
Sure.
this decision was made not to. Maybe it was too logistically difficult. Hawaii, I admit Hawaii is an easier solution. It's something that the league has done before. If you go to Hawaii, you're in an active university who are doing classes, so there's limited space. I had someone ask me, he was like, why didn't they just book more rooms? Like, that's not how it works. Like,
This isn't a hotel, guys.
yeah, it's not a hotel. You can't just book more rooms. It's an active university with students taking classes. The priority of the university is to, have classes available to the students, not to fucking host an esports league.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotta get the AP Bio 101 guy. Come on.
I also read, I think not everywhere on the campus has access to that particular extraordinary internet.
And it's just the case that like Luke said, if you want, I want to highlight this tweet. If you want to use the undersea Tokyo cable, which we do for a good connection, where the fuck else can you go? Yeah. Unless you want to head up the United States military. It's like, hey guys, can we use a military base?
Sponsored by the United States Marine Corps. Semper Fi, guys.
Use a military base to just fucking go to Pearl Harbor and just use a military base to start broadcasting.
Little rough.
I don't know.
Little rough.
So yeah. This is basically the solution. It is what it is. I don't like this. I don't think anyone likes this, but it's more one of those disgruntled fuck it, just have to kind of put up with it. It's this or you don't get international tournaments for this event.
That's it.
But I think the look, if by the end of the year this happens again, dogpile them. Pile straight up. I don't care anymore. But like I'm convinced I'm convinced that this is a problem that's big enough.
Correct.
I'm also in the know in some certain things, but I won't reveal too much. But basically what I'm saying is by the time we get to playoffs and finals, there's gonna be some better solutions than this.
For sure.
That's really what it comes down to in today. And if by the playoffs and finals I'm wrong and they're not better solutions, then fucking dogpile them, right? But right now, this is all we can do. This is like the hand that you've been dealt. You got to play this fucking hand.
That's where we agree.
Here's another thing though. By the time we're in November, I promise you we're back in the bad COVID wave once again. Like people think we're back to normal. We aren't.
Certainly possible.
The A5 is going to hit us like a truck again. Like, there's still the possibility that even if you think, like, you can, I don't know, host in Iceland or wherever you want to do it, like, that there's still a non-zero percentage chance that whatever contingency plan you had or, like, workaround is just shut down by the situations. Like, it didn't look like NA is pretty open. The fact that we just have so many attack vectors because of our international situation, that's the problem, right? And like whatever issues we have now is just a down the line problem from decisions we made in the past that now this league front office has to take care of or deal with. And they're getting dogpiled when these terrible decisions in the past have already been made that are now catching up to us, that everyone pointed out, like who had a smidge of an idea of how an esports works generally, pointed out to people. And like, unfortunately, nobody ever applies or gets to apply public pressure until, we actually see the problem. So now we're in the problem. The people that made these decisions are long gone. We're shitting on people that haven't made these decisions and now have to deal with the fallout of it all. And we're waking up to the reality that this is not a tier 1 esports, guys. It just isn't. Right? So we got to deal with it and we got to grind back.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's and actually there's the Toronto LAN event is still upcoming for stage 3.
True.
So there's at least that's going to be a good bounce back. I mean, it's not going to be international, but it will at least be like, hey, we can do live events. They can look good. They're not always in Texas as well. So boom, got that to look forward to. All right, wrap up on that conversation. Let's actually get into the preview now, as this is going to be a time-sensitive episode. So why don't we just dive into it? Bracket. Let's review the bracket really quickly, and then we'll get into the individual games. So here's what went down yesterday. London Spitfire versus Atlanta Reign. 3-1 result there. So 2 of these games I actually casted. I was there for London Spitfire, Rain, and then Houston Outlaws Mayhem, which ended up being 3-0. And then we had the Shanghai Dragons take down Toronto Defiant, then Hangzhou Spark versus Philly Fusion. Let's dive into, we'll review the bracket again in terms of who they all picked during our review. Let's dive into the actual games themselves. So why don't we start with the London Spitfire versus the Atlanta Rain. That was the first game that came on through. So who starts? Is someone else start while
I'll
I
you're good.
So I'm doing stuff behind the scenes.
London is hilarious. Like it's comical because I think one of the biggest, like, obviously bone back, bone back. Shout out to the real ones. Like, I had a great game. One of, like, arguably seasonal best May, like maybe in the discussion for like best May ever. Like, this kid's nuts. This kid is a playmaker on a hero that is effectively an Anivia wall bot, right? Like, it's crazy how good this kid is. And then you can put him on flex support. Like, that's a whole other discussion. But I think, like, the brilliance of this game in particular was the narrative that is constantly reiterated is that everybody is always shocked when Shax actually shows up and plays like a madman. Like, we know Sparker's good. People are coming around to the idea that Hottie's actually kind of cracked.
What do you mean coming around? I think people have been on the Hottie train like most of the year. I think coming around. Like,
I think there's still people convincing from last year, because I think last year people were like, "Oh, British Hurricane."
This is Joe all over again. Like, this is like not watching Game of Thrones and having an opinion all over again. This man has not read a single Reddit comment or social media comment.
You're right.
In the last 3.5 decades, and things are like, well, the public opinion on this is like Hardy. Now everyone's on the Hardy train. My guy,
I don't know if you saw that pin.
Everyone was on the Hardy
was kind of hot. Yeah. Yes, now everybody is, but you have to remember, like, think of last year. Last year, the narrative was, oh my God, British Hurricane's coming in. They're going to wreck fucking out.
Because they sucked.
Yeah, and they were terrible. And then now...
200 ping. They're sending their fucking command via the Royal Mail.
So I need you to get on your hills with your Zweihander and start axing some kids and cutting that narrative away. And I think it has been adequately, right? But I think the untold story about this game in particular was Shax. Every single year, this kid has to, like, prove to everybody that he's still, like, actually not only just a, like, feasible player, not just a serviceable player, but a genuinely good player.
Wasn't Shax pretty reasonable last year, even though they were losing? Like,
I
don't think anyone ever had a poor opinion of Shax, because he proved himself on the Valiant well before the London Spitfire.
I'm gonna be honest. I remember a particular take on TCP where I said, like, I don't know if there's a worse hit skin in Owl than Shax. And I'll be honest, I don't think he's particularly outstanding either. That's just a normal hit skin now.
Yeah, he's a good player, but, like, that's the thing is, like, we always have to be reminded that this kid exists. Like, we've seen what Sparker can do in contenders, but, like, Shax always seems to kind of find a team that needs him, but like can't always field him. And then when he actually comes out and performs like he did against the Atlanta Rain, again, you look at Venom, you look at, Kai in some cases, right? Shax, like, this is a noticeable difference that this kid is actually performing to, like, an extremely high level. And I think that there's like a lot of orbiting factors as to why that is. But, like, a lot of people are getting a lot of credit, rightly so. But Shax, again, very quiet player, does his job pretty well most of the time, above average player, I'd say, at least in this match. And now you have an entire roster of fucking hitters. These kids bring the heat.
I don't know if he's above average. I'm sorry. I think, like, we really got to think of what the
you're about to find out. You're about to find out because when London
marriage, right?
When London plays, who do they play next? Who London play next?
They play Shock.
Right, when they play Shock, and then they're going to lose bracket. I don't know. Maybe they play. I really want London to play one against one of the APAC teams because I want to see the APAC teams work around this Rhine. In either case, like, there's Shax will be tested. He will be tested. The rest of the players will be tested. I'm gonna get to the Atlanta Rain in a hot second, but my take on London is, like, their knowledge and their tempo and their understanding of how to play to their win
Here we go.
conditions as a Rhine team
Mhm.
is just so crisp. It's so pristine.
Yep.
They just know exactly what they're doing as a Rhine team and how to pace and all that kind of stuff. But the reason why I've got Circuit Royale on the screen is because I want to talk about Lanta Rain as well. And I might as well show the map they won, you know, instead of just watching it get rolled by Reinhardt and all that. So I made some commentary on this particular map that this is the one area of weakness for London, is that does Sparker play Widow, guys? Does anyone know if Sparker plays Widow? Because he just didn't play Widow here.
I know that he's played like mid to long range. He's played it before. I just don't know if like they feel super comfortable him on it.
Here's the problem. You play Circuit Royale, which I personally believe is the #1 Widow map currently. In the entire map, this is the Widow map. So if you do not play Widowmaker, you're going to get fucking shat on by someone like Kai. And that's exactly what happened. Kai was a permanent +1 machine. You were never fighting at 5v5 because Kai would always kill somebody at the start of a fight, almost every single time. His success rate on First Blood was unbelievable. And it's unchallenged. And, you know, I kind of mentioned this as well, but when you look at the matchup here, is London Spitfire playing the Brig version that also has a Genji. Your poke is worse. Your poke is phenomenally worse, which means you have to be very active and you have to get in to face your opponents. It's almost like playing Rhine Brawl again, but you have Poco and Sigma. But you have to treat it like... Kai smiling, by the way. It's the first time I've seen him smile since he got that headshot kill onto Violet's Exo Boots on Kings Row last year. That cost shock there. Playoffs run. But yeah, London Spitfire did not do themselves any favors in this sort of matchup. Now, in the interview afterwards, Backbone was like, yeah, this is one of those very particular maps where like one strategy is very good and, you know, no other map is like this, which I kind of agree with. Even though I think like, no, I do agree. I was going to say Gibraltar as well, but no, this one's even more peculiar because you basically have to run Sigma Widow here to be successful, and teams that can't do that are just going to lose. I think London just accepted, we probably lose this, and they just took it and be like, cool, take the L and move on.
And that's like almost where I want to like postulate, like if we're kind of already leaning that direction, because I agree, like if you can't play Widow here, like you are at a severe disadvantage. So is it even worth moving Poco in, or do you just try to force more brawl?
I think the Rhine is worse. I think the Rhine is worse. I think you have even less capability to fight.
They had some of the worst performances on Rhine on that map. I remember like early in the season, my God, like nothing was working for them.
Yeah. I mean, it is like when you play against good teams, like it is not something that like you can squeak by. Like that's not something you can kind of get over on them. But yeah, that's going to be a tough one. And like, that seems to be just like the counter pick, right? Like it'll be nice if things go according. I mean, it's third map, so you'd have to like lose hybrid to avoid it. But like if any opponents going into London, they get to counter pick on escort. Like you know where you're going. You're going to circuit.
I think London are very heavily favored on hybrid because there's a lot of good hybrid maps for Rhine.
Yes.
And then they're never going to be favored on escort. So my analysis for a team like London is essentially, if you play against London, your drafting strategy should go like this. Ideally you're the highest seed. And I think a lot of teams are going to be higher seed than London, so you get first pick.
Oh yeah.
The first pick on control should probably be Ilios. And then London probably pick Kings Row or something. You lose Kings Row, cool. And then you go and you pick Circuit Royale. Or Gibraltar, but probably Circuit Royale. You win Circuit Royale, then London they will pick Colosseo, one of the two available push maps. They are far better at Colosseo than New Queen Street. Let's say you lose Colosseo, you get final map pick, you take them to Oasis, and ideally, because Oasis is kind of dive favored as well, you win. So it might take you until 5 maps to beat London, but you will get a 3 and 2 based off that drafting strategy I've outlined. So if I was the coach of a team, that would be my exact drafting strategy versus London.
Yeah, I think I
do believe it would have a high success rate.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great skeleton to approach these games with. Like if you just flag each of those games, like those are the good maps every day of the week, to kind of get around their brawl centric style. And yeah, I think that like if an APAC team takes them in that direction, that's rough.
I want to move on to the next game really quickly, but I just want to get quick thoughts on Atlanta.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I'll start actually. I felt like Atlanta, their backline really underperformed. I felt like UV had a really shocker of a game. It was very uncharacteristic. I thought UV was just generally had a much better season than this. They kind of got rolled over very quick. They got snowballed heavily by London's compositions, especially the Rhine stuff. But I was even surprised here, like how good London were at shutting down Hawk, and this is like why I think APAC teams are not running Doom anymore. I think Doom is so counterable compared to something like Winston. You would see so many APAC teams run Winston here instead of the Doom, and you notice it. I mean, there's I don't know if I don't know if we'll get to the moment here. We'll probably cut away from this, but there was that moment where Hawk just dives onto the high ground on B, and he just gets fucking shat on by Landon Backbone. I just think Doom is overrated currently in most of these comps. So when I heard, like, I remember, like, I can't remember who. There was a conversation between, a conversation. It was a whole drama thing with Washington and the DPA tweet, and then the pre-tweet, and they were saying how, like, Ryan's good and Doom's good, and I'm just like, not an APAC. No, it's not. It's not an APAC. Yeah. No one playing that shit at APAC. And part of the issue is, this is the learning curve for Atlanta Reign. But if you're not going to sub Gator in, which is fine, because I think Brad Seffi, he made the commitment. He said that we don't have ranked in Overwatch 2, so Gator can't grind. Your bench player can't grind the game. There's limited scrim hours that we have. If you're splitting scrim hours between two people, there's the argument that both are getting less compared to one guy that could be getting everything. So they made the commitment to Hawk, but because I don't know if that's just a recent thing. Although, to be fair, Hawk's played the entire season, but Hawk hasn't had to play the main tanks. He's having to learn stuff like Winston now, and there's a lot of catch up to do. And because he can't play a Winston up to scratch, you're seeing Hawk go into Diva and shit. That's how you know. That's how you know that this team currently, hero pool wise, is not hitting the mark. Because I know it's easier said than done, but you need a someone or Smurf on your team that can play it all.
Yeah. And like it's easier said than done just to be like, hey, go crack the wallet, let's back out the Brinks truck, and let's go find the next Smurf or the next someone. Because like, yes, the game is about flexibility. To speak more to Atlanta, I think you're spot on the money. Like, I think it was just a quiet game all around. You look at Kai, I think is probably the only like consistent performer that entire series. Homie was like kicking and screaming and crying.
His Sojourn was not as good as Sparkus this game.
No, definitely not. But I think that's more of like a team facilitation thing. Like you look at Circuit Royal, he shows up obviously still performing well, but like
there's nothing to counter him. No one's counter sniping him.
Agreed.
It's like he's playing. He's having a stroll in the park when he's the only Widow in a game that does nothing to counter him.
True. I think it's speaking more towards like the overall like timidness, the quietness from Atlanta in this game. Right. It didn't feel like anybody was there. It didn't feel like anybody was helping anybody. Like you said, I maybe we'll get to it, but there is that one point, like you mentioned, that they try to dive this high ground point on Eichenwald, and it's just not gonna happen. It's not feasible, and like that's kind of a theme we saw throughout a lot of these Eichenwalds yesterday's and a lot of yesterday's games. But yeah, Atlanta overall pretty quiet. Kind of was a little disappointing. All things considered.
Do you have a quick thought here? I want to move on to the next team straight away.
Yeah. I have like the thing with Atlanta where they are just a team who's unlucky with their player constellation in terms of what the meta is like. I think they're a team that could have run the Rhine comps as well, but then you're necessarily almost like phasing out Kai out of these compositions. Maybe not, during the whole soldier stint and whatnot, even though like also, I mean, now even if they had put it all on Gator, you gotta ask if he had the ability to, compete someone with Hardy, Reiner, and someone. Like, otherwise, like, now you're running Hawk, he has to come, work from behind, but that also then means, like, you don't necessarily have one of the top tier main tanks, but you can play Kai. But now you're also in a situation where you have to play double flex support, which is not necessarily, like, the best situation for Atlanta. I think, like, you just roll the dice every season, and like sometimes you're like your composition that you want to work out actually works pretty well. This is just where the dice roll didn't work for Atlanta, and I don't necessarily think this team is even worse from a player pound for point, even relative to the rest of the talent in the Overwatch League. I think they're just rather unlucky with how the meta has fallen, and like this is not their strong suit at the moment.
If they had a meta that really suited Hawk's hero pool, I think they would be better off. But that's kind of how it works, which is why, like, ideally, which is why I think they made the right move by trying to focus on Hawk more. But he needs to catch up on the main tank heroes. All right, let's actually move on to the next game because we've got a few to get through here. Florida versus Houston. While I bring up the footage, who would like to start on that match?
Oh man, I thought that was going to be a lot closer in Florida. I was hesitant with Florida.
We predicted 3-2, did we not?
I said it was 3-2. I think we had differing opinions on who was winning, but I do remember a lot of it was 3-2. I had Houston winning. Oh God, that was rough to watch. I said this yesterday, like as we were watching. Shout out to those who show up for the Yiska, watch party sometimes when the games are on. That like the Florida Boston game, I think a few weeks back, that game 5er with the Valentine clutch, like it didn't look all that put together for Florida. They got it across the line, but against a team that they probably should handily beat, and like it was a little rough around the edges. And I feel like they're still trying to like piece a lot of this together. It doesn't feel like they're all like, it doesn't feel like the cohesive unit that they started the season with. And Houston, it's Houstonable, right? Like they have the Pelicans, they have the merits. Like you have star players that can be +1s, to use, AVRL's, definition here. Like these kids get value and then some, right? They're not just trading up. They're actively like winning you fights along, like just by themselves.
You know what's funny?
So like
Houston, I think part of the reason why I wanted to go 3-2 for Houston is because they had trouble closing out games quickly.
Sure,
the past 3 games were all 3-2s. So I'm like, fuck it, they're going to get a 3-2 again.
Yeah.
And then they just rolled Florida. So it's like I don't know if that says more about Houston or Florida.
I think it says a little bit more about Florida. I don't think they're playing up to their potential, right? Like I think you finally see Hydron back in the mix, which again, like he started the stage quite good at Sojourn. Like he was putting up some numbers, he was putting up plays, like he was like Florida against London to open, I think, the stage, if memory serves. What he looked like the second best Sojourn in NA. Then you see Exy come in, who also looks quite good, but it's that rotation that I'm not big on. A lot of it just it feels like they're going through a rough patch. It feels like the communication isn't necessarily there. And Houston rather got the better of them. Hopefully Florida can turn it up, wake up. Maybe the travel touching them a little bit. Like it again, it's not a non-factor, but just not Florida's day. Not waking up.
Well, I said this on the broadcast as well, but like they just felt. I hate to use the word uncoordinated because it sounds too much of a catch-all. Like it's just one of those buzzwords. Like they were uncoordinated. But what I'm trying to say is like you get so many examples of individuals trying to make hero plays, and so many examples of like someone overextending, someone the player, obviously. Where he tried to he almost went. I mentioned he like went to the Houston spawn and shit. Like his punishment. Like, bro, you guys are just losing all map control because someone just fed. Like. It's just stuff like this, like Checkmate going for these like, solo play blizzards. Like I'm gonna make the hero blizzard play, and like no consideration to what the team's objective is. He's just fucking going in and sending this shit, and I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, are they on comms? Like,
yeah, it's confusing, and it's definitely something that like we've definitely paid attention to. Again, I can remember, I think it was Mayhem versus Dallas on Kings Row. Like Florida comes out with the brawl look and someone's running it down on Ryan, and it's not like he is like 4 or 5 steps ahead of his team, running down B, getting these like trying to make these charge plays that like you might see Hottie do, but like his team isn't there to follow him up. And it's just disjointed. It's messy. It's just not good.
So what's crazy is that Piggy ended up winning on Ryan compared to someone. But part of this is due to, I think, I don't know if it's underrated. Maybe some people forget. But Pelican and Eris are sick on their respective heroes for Brawl because they were 2 out of 6 parts of the very successful Atlanta Brawl last year.
Yep.
People have to remember that.
It's also, like, I'm getting a little bit concerned for Florida here because I feel like it's almost like a repetition of last year where they had like a 6 stage 1 where they even went through Y and everything, and now it feels like they lost their mojo a little bit. Like they still try to like do a lot with like getting new players in, finding like solutions. I can't even really pinpoint what the problem is. Like the quality of the players is
he sorry, I just sorry to interrupt you, but someone did a shadow, went for a pin, and got caught in geometry.
Yeah.
So a little bit unlucky. He actually pinned geometry and failed to get the kill. But just shit like that. I don't know. Maybe that was unlucky, but still. Continue.
Yeah.
I interrupted.
Yeah, no,
you for that only. That was the shitty May Blizzard as well. That checkmate just did that. I was talking about.
Yeah, it's. I think you're right. There's a lot of hero plays.
What the fuck is he doing? Like, come on.
Yeah, he's just hiding there. We mentioned that again for those who are there live. Like, I think that was like my favorite Animo play all season. Like, he was just like, oh, I'm gonna like die on cart and milk a little bit more time. I'm like, bro,
it like makes no sense.
No, it's literally like
we've heavily interrupted Yiska now. Yiska had a point. What were you about to say?
Yeah, no, I think like what are the solutions, the actionable solutions to Florida's problems at this point? Like, are they just going to have to be lucky to roll into a meta that suits them more? Like,
this is not a good meta for them.
No.
What? Yeah, what's even the meta? Because like they have seemingly so many meta agnostic folks. Like, you know, like for most people who have a meta problem, it's based on the main tank. I'm sorry, but you don't have a meta problem with someone. Like, that's a Smurf situation almost, right?
Yeah.
So
he is a bit of a mini Smurf, right? So he's flexible enough to play everything. I'm not going to say he's as good as Smurf. He's not, but he'll at least open up all the options for you. I don't think he's the problem on this team, even though I see him overextending. But I think it's a chronic problem of the entire team feeling like they need to be the hero because their team is losing.
Yep, I think it's literally down to you talk about solutions, Yiska. Like, I don't think it's a comp thing. I don't think it's a meta thing. I think it's one thing. Well, not one thing, but one thing I'd like to see them kind of address is like looking at the comm structure, like figuring out where this is going wrong, because there's too many opportunities. Like, we go like mid 2 or 3 weeks ago, mid-season madness, regular season, the middle of it. And you can tell that this team is just uncoordinated, too disjointed, too many folks are all over the place. It doesn't seem like things are like lining up the right way. The dives aren't there. Someone's off in Narnia. Like, it's rough. So I think like maybe even simplifying down the comps. I think Animo, if I'm going to be honest, like, you have RuPaul, you might as well like bring him in. I think like that's just going to give you a little bit more oomph overall. And then maybe just get behind someone. Like, if he's going to be that proactive threat, like, just get behind him and support him. And like, even if it's a shitty decision, 5 of you doing a shitty decision is better than 1 of you doing a hero play over here, and then the next, you know what I mean?
I haven't seen enough of RuPaul's gameplay to have an extremely good read on this person's ability, but I don't know. Like, is he much better than Majed? Like, I.
That's also a question. Yeah,
it's not replacing Majed. It's literally just replacing Animo. I'm an Animo hater.
How do they play the Brig and the Lucio?
One of them's got to have a decent break, right? Like, it can't be that bad. They're flex supports. I trust that at least their Brig's all right. Like, I just can't do the Animo game anymore, guys. Like, I'm just kind of over it. He can't really play the Ana. We saw that. It's not great. So, like, what is he? They've
had like 3 flex supports in this team, including Kareev.
I know.
You're asking him to just like, he was like, oh, just keep going down the list. Who else is available, guys? Is Ho one? Oh shit! No, he got picked up. Fuck.
No,
who
he's
else
gone. I mean, at least I'm consistent, guys. Like, I see Animo, and I don't like. He has to be a trained psychologist. Like, he must be bringing like a Harvard level PhD in like good feels production, because I do not see the mechanics. I do not see the positioning. I don't see the game sense. Like, there's too many times I see this kid just like doing silly things.
I'd be more on your page if I felt like he was the main problem, but I feel like
I don't think he's the main problem.
Are also a problem that like. To me, it feels like a team problem. Like, well, honestly, everyone's 100%. Playing. Everyone's kind of doing dumb shit. So it's like, you know, I don't single him out when there's
that's me being biased, because like I'm just like let's get some churn, let's get some some new blood in there. But I agree. Like, this is a team thing first and foremost. Animo hate be damned.
Last bit about Florida I want to talk about is that I don't know. Maybe I put a little too much pressure on XC, but he needed to pop off on this map on Gibraltar. Like, this was his time. He wasn't getting counter sniped. Gibraltar is a great widow map on A and B. I don't know if he just didn't have the space to work through, but okay, let's say it's a 50-50 issue, right? He didn't have enough space to work through because the rest of his team was dying or whatever. But the few times where he had easy shots, he fucking missed some really easy shots, man. Like, Kai wouldn't have missed that. You know, other top hit scans wouldn't have missed that. You just can't miss some of those shots where like people aren't even looking at you. You have a clean angle, no one's pressuring you, and you just go blank. Like, come on, brother. If you want to be a top hit scan, you got to hit those.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm too big of a fan because it felt like they had a pretty good thing going. Like if there's a thing, I'm not sure what's going on internally and whatnot, but like it felt like Hydron was reasonable on Sojourn.
Yeah.
And they seem to take this kid off his momentum at a crucial point, and maybe they could have taken a different turn there. I'm not sure. That's I mean, as you can see, as I'm framing this, I've no really like well formulated idea what's going wrong there, but that would be my first, inquiry into the issue.
Cool. Quick thoughts on Houston before we move on. I was pleasantly pleased with Piggy. Again, I haven't seen all the Houston games, and I had all these Houston fans like, "Yeah, Everett doesn't watch Houston. He doesn't know that Piggy is like Winston." Like, no, I don't watch Houston. What's your point?
Guys, it's the pigskin. Let's be honest.
The majority of Houston is still Sigma Doom. That's the majority of the team. Okay, are they capable of playing some other stuff? Yes, and I'm super glad they are, because this team would be in a lot of trouble if they literally two-tricked Doom and Sigma. This team would be fucking in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But actually, I would like to see Piggy tested a bit more versus better teams. But this is a good start for me, like having a really positive impression of Houston, because now they're a team that can play more than just two comps.
Go ahead, Yiska.
I don't think like the way this team becomes a legitimate, like, maybe the third tournament type of contender is realistically only if we get like a solid Sigma meta going or something like this, or something that really appeals to Piggy more. Like it's serviceable, but like you're not scratching the top 3 in NA with what you have at the moment. Even while I have to acknowledge that Merit probably turned out better than I had anticipated. I think like even Merit was like far from their first choice for that particular position. So
sure.
I
think they should be pretty happy with how he's developed at this point.
He's exceeded expectations. Certainly for me.
He's for sure.
Far exceeded my expectations.
The fact that he's putting up numbers on Sojourn like he is, like, it's kind of crazy, like how much he's doing.
Yeah. He's got another good hero. I always felt like his pool was limited in contenders. Like he was good on like a few heroes, like a Cassidy, a Hangzhou, maybe a Sombra, but not an elite Sombra. His hero pool seemed like, but you'd rather just have Kilo and like Ash. Sure. You'd rather have Kilo and Widowmaker. Like, fuck me, I will never forget when Merit was on Runaway and he played against Proper, who was on O2, and Proper fucking destroyed him in the Ash heads up. And Proper's not even a hit scan player. Well, he is. He's a Hyperflex. He plays everything.
He can do everything.
But that's my point. Yeah. Like, you're just losing to a guy that to be fair, you're losing to like the young Faker in a sense. So like, everyone probably loses to Proper in that situation. But that's my point, right? Like, Merit always felt like a second-rate player compared to like the gods of Contender's career. Yeah. So the fact that he's come out now and he's being like a legitimate powerhouse, I'm really happy to see that. I'm happy to be wrong as well. Like I can fully admit that I was wrong about Merit coming to the league, and he's exceeded my expectations, and I think he's a really good player.
Let me point this at you guys. Just looking at like the general feel, the qualia, the mouth feel of these two teams. Are the Houston Outlaws the spark of the West?
No.
No, this is a gatekeeper team. I describe Outlaws as a gatekeeper team because they always lose to teams like Shock and Glads, but they always beat the teams below them. So
led by their DPS, their tanks are a little sussy.
I don't know if there's like a proper gatekeeper team in APAC, because APAC is very close. I don't think there is a gatekeeper team. Like everyone, it feels like everyone can beat everyone in APAC, kind of. So yeah. All right. Unless anyone has final thoughts on Houston, I want to go to the next team now.
Sure.
All right. Let's play next. Toronto, Shanghai. All right. Who wants to start in Toronto, Shanghai while I get the footage?
I did not watch this live. I tapped out. I'm like, this is not going to be interesting. I'm good. I'll catch the VOD. What do you mean? It's not going to be the first international that we've had. But it's Toronto, AVRL. It's Toronto. Like the first international competition in my mind yesterday had not been played. However, on review, not a terrible series. The 3-0 scoreline does look rough. It does. But that does not speak to how competitive Toronto did kind of make this, especially on control. Not terrible. Not terrible. All things considered, again, you're playing against last year's champion. You're playing against on-form Shanghai. Toronto put up a fight. Twilight looked and reminding everybody why he is considered one of the best flag supports to ever touch this godforsaken video game. Finale consistently showing us like, hey, I'm still here. I exist. Maybe don't bench me. Just saying.
Oh, Finale was good.
Like, Finale really was good. Fucking amazing. Yeah. Like, this team was competitive, yet it was a 3-0. You can't ignore that. But it wasn't like a 3-0. Like, this was a map by map call. Like, this wasn't a write-off like we kind of thought it, at least I thought it was.
I have a take on okay, let's address one thing really quickly.
Sure.
Let me actually find
I know
the tweet. We gotta actually we're gonna do it justice.
You do. Yeah.
If I'm gonna bring this shit up, we gotta find the receipts first. You know, so
that's fair.
So Toronto actually had some issues. Let's not spend too long on this because I don't want to get bogged down by this. But let me just read it, and then I think Yiska's got some thoughts on it. I will read the tweet.
I just have a question. No, but go ahead.
Okay, let's go first. Adam Adamu, GM of Toronto. The problem was a latency. Sorry, hang on. First of all, Sean Miller. Apologies for the pauses during the match. Toronto was having some issues with the team comms customization we worked through with them during the first couple maps. So we wanted to ensure the issue was resolved before resuming the match. I'm curious that the other 4 teams that played before them didn't have this issue. But I don't know about that.
Strange.
Anyway,
yeah.
Grayson says, the problem was a latency that made real-time communication impossible for our players during the first 2 maps. Shanghai didn't have the same issue. Difficult to play at this caliber without RT comms. It is fixed now, but it affected the first 2 maps. Feels bad. This will be investigated. The Overwatch League has been helpful in addressing it. Shanghai Dragons is a great team, and I'm certainly not mentioning this as an excuse. Highlighting for visibility. Shout out also to Sean Mills for his responsiveness. Yes, go.
Okay, so, I mean, TeamSpeak is the Overwatch League partner, right? So presumably that would have been the first, order of operation to get the TeamSpeak fixed. They have local service and whatnot. Maybe there was something temporarily messed up, whatever it is, right? Fair. Why are you playing then? Or, like, with those not fixed? And that's not even my question. My question is, why are you not using in-game comms then? Just use the Overwatch ones?
I feel like you may be oversimplifying a little, but...
Yeah, I'm just asking, like, what's the problem there?
I don't know. To be honest with you,
well, they have a bespoke comm solution, you know. I have to be careful about that because I don't know the real storyline because I don't want to make shit up. Right, I don't know the exact ins and outs of the technology. But usually at LAN events, you have a comms. So this is part of the reason why you wouldn't use in game. You have a comm structure that through the giant headsets that they're wearing, that is part of an audio solution that is pumping white noise, that is being recorded by the league for both competitive integrity reasons and also content reasons, like because they do the comms check, and is also being pumped into the coaching room, the dugouts and stuff like that as well. So there's a lot of different directions it's going. So I don't think it's as easy as just use a fucking in-game forehead. But there's it's complicated, and I don't claim to understand it all fully because I'm not a tech guy. But I'm just saying, like, there's a few little bits and pieces there to consider.
You're telling me it's not as easy as them playing white noise through Winamp while connecting to a TeamSpeak server?
I don't even know if they're using
Unfortunately not.
TeamSpeak. I don't even know that they're using TeamSpeak because it's usually these are custom solutions.
Right. I don't know.
Don't say that out loud.
Well, I don't know. I'm not confirming or denying. I legitimately don't know.
Well, it just doesn't know.
It's just from my time going through esports in general and just like keeping a keen eye on how it functions. I'm not there in the room. I don't know the exact. That's why I'm not saying it as a conclusive statement like this is 100% what they're doing. But I'm saying there's a fair chance that this is probably why. But anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Back to the game. That aside, I feel like we address it. You know, people were like, yeah, but the first 2 maps they didn't have comms. I'm like, yeah, okay, I see.
And I mean, that's impressive. Like, if they were handicapped, they still looked pretty damn good. Like, I think, you know, we talked about this earlier with our partnership with Juke. Like, you know, Isu's not terrible at Sojourn, guys. Like, he's actually pretty damn good. Like when you have somebody like that, you have Finale, you have Twilight still being able to make plays and is like 28th season, you know, he's gray in the face, he's long in the tooth. This man's going to retire before, you know, I don't know, like he's just an old man out here doing big things with the kids. Like I give Toronto a lot of flack, but like this wasn't a terrible game from them, and I'm kind of scared of them going in the losers bracket. Like this is a team that's here to perform.
Do you know that Lee Jig and Hisu used to be teammates in Runaway? Just a fun fact.
I do.
Here's what I'll say about Shanghai. I think there's a bit of a narrative for me. It's like, oh, Shanghai must be overrated because they played close to Toronto, even though it was a 3-0. They played close to Toronto, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing about Shanghai that you have to learn. This is not a selfless team. Selfless being the team selfless that Brad used to coach back in the day that would spawn camp you and fucking teabag the fuck out of you. This is the type of team that is a slow burn team. They are Shang AI. They download you over the course of a series. They fucking download you, right? And I don't know, you know, maybe they're not, maybe the connection in China is not good enough yet. It is, but this is just part of the running joke. So they take a while to download you. What I'm basically saying is, this is the type of slow burn team that when you play against them, it's a marathon. You can't sprint versus this team. And the reason why it's a marathon is because they have more endurance. They will outlast you. So the longer the series goes, they you know, higher the possibility that they make that comeback happen. You'll see this because Toronto go to 99-0, but they don't win.
Yeah, like a few times.
Because Shanghai, despite losing early, they bend but never break. And then once you've run out of energy and the marathon really gets going, they fucking overtake you, and they overtake you hard. So you will playing against Shanghai, you will feel like you are getting close to winning. You will feel like we are doing well and we are doing the correct things, and then you'll just lose anyway. Because they are a marathon slow burn team that will get you in the fucking end. This is a tortoise and hare race where they are the hare, but it's a long fucking race and they'll always get you in the end.
Yeah. And then like on map 4 and 5, they're also like the Duracell.
Their map 5 win rate is insane, by the way. Their map 5 win rate is fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's to make a minor like MMA comparison, you know, when you fight for a belt, when you fight for a championship, like there are 2 additional rounds, and like that's a big narrative. Like, can you have the endurance to compete in those championship rounds?
Very true.
The Shanghai Dragons are a championship caliber team. Obviously, they're defending, you know, 2021 champions, and it's constantly shown. Yes, were they a little bit more immortal at the start of the season? 100%. And you have to give Seoul that credit, and you have to give them their star. But this team, that these players can go the distance. They have that gas tank. They can play in the championship rounds. And you look at this game against Toronto, Control specifically, because I think that's very indicative. When you go back in the history of the game, first fight win rate on the neutral fight on a submap is a pretty solid indicator on who's going to win the round, right? Like, I'd say at least 60%. I'd have to do. I'm currently doing the numbers historically. We'll get to that, but like it has been provably accurate that like first fight win rate on a submap like tends to be a good indicator of who's wins. The fact that Toronto comes out, wins those, and Shanghai still, to Avril's point, comes back 99-0, flips it, and still gets it over the line. What can you do? Like when you're playing as good as Toronto is, it's tough.
I think it's disrespectful to Toronto to like say that Shanghai look bad because they didn't dominate them. It was like, well, maybe Toronto's not a pushover team.
No, they're not. Yeah,
at least not this weekend. Yeah.
Yep.
But I will say, like, okay, this is one of the hazards of doing the live broadcast, because like people are how but like Shanghai got 3-0 4 times this season. Yes, they had to squeeze their internet connection through like a ridiculous bottleneck for the first part of the season. Then they get into stage 2 and then had like the random draw of having to exclude the 2 best teams in a new meta from their scrim pool because they were playing them, and therefore like having inadequate scrim practice, which we've known is a thing in APAC, and therefore got rolled in the first week, come back next week, look at dominant as ever. Like it's very easily explainable how this team has functioned so far. And like as soon as they figured that stuff out, like I think it's equally disingenuous to say, well, Toronto was reasonably close. Bruh, they like Shanghai didn't have to go into overdrive to win this match yet. Nope. Like unless you're literally like on match point against Shanghai, I don't think you've really experienced what this team is capable of.
They are a grind team as well, and what I mean by grind team is they need the hours, they need there to be a beta, they need to scrim all the time to really get good, and it's indicative in the fact that Lip literally said, "Is like, I got much better at Soju when the beta came back." It's like he actually
it was
had a game
noticeable
to fucking play. Like, it's just one of those comments, like, because he fucking sucked in those the two 0-3s at the start of this stage. Lip was fucking shit at Sojourn in particular.
Ash.
But then, came back week 2, match number 3. He looked like a god, like within a week. And the difference was he was able to grind the game. That's literally the difference.
Surprise, surprise. The good player actually gets to play the game. Turns out he's still pretty good. Like, this is a tough team to actually put in the coffin. So credit to, this is more of a nod, a credit to Toronto, because they still were competitive with Shanghai at their level. Like, I think
we'll
give them some shit.
We don't know if it was full throttle.
I don't. I think it's. I just think it's disingenuous to say like, oh, Shanghai weren't very good here because Toronto played them close. And the more accurate statement is to say that, oh, Toronto are much better than I thought because they play Shanghai close, right? Because that to me sounds more genuine in the fact that Toronto, in my opinion, are not a pushover team. They have more than reasonable players in their team that did play well, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to give other teams a run for their money. But it is still 3-0 because Shanghai the better team.
Yes.
My counter argument would be to that, like, yes, they look good against like non Super Saiyan Goku. You don't know what Super Saiyan Shanghai looks like unless you are on match point, right?
Sure.
That would be my counter argument.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Like, if there's not a chip on the line, if there's not like a star to be won, a title to be hoisted, like, maybe you haven't seen full potential Shanghai, Got to put them, you got to back them up a little bit first.
The most beautiful thing about this, and like, I love you all in chat, but like, this thing makes it to the finals. Like this, how do you cope? Like, what's
the problem with Shanghai? Why do people have a problem that Shanghai finishes 3-0? Like, why is the expectation different? Like,
I don't know.
Do they, bro, motherfucker, Gladiators don't fucking 3-0 all their opponents either. I don't understand. It's like, I don't know, other teams don't get this kind of expectation around them. It's a 3-0. This is the funny thing. It's a 3-0, but apparently that's not good enough.
No.
That's the thing. Like, if your past seasons set expectations for you, like, I swear to God, emotionally for an Overwatch fan, San Francisco Shock currently is mid. Despite not losing a regular season match, but like, they haven't won a title, so mid. They're mid.
Sure, yeah.
It's like
chips, bro.
Let's apply the same logic across all the teams. Apparently, Gladiators must be mid because they've been dropping maps all the time. You know, Gladiators are likely one of, if not the best team in the world right now. But are they not allowed to drop maps to? Like, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't have to always be a flawless 3-0 game. The fact that this is a 3-0 and people are unsatisfied is so fucking weird.
Yeah, it is wild.
That's like the most weird champ thing ever.
Yeah. I think somebody in chat kind of hits it on the head that I think it is a little bit of viewer fatigue. I think it is like the expectations of looking at the Atlanta final from last year and knowing like a fucking 100-0 push map that this was not close and you might as well just hand them the contract, sign on the dotted line. You are the champions. Congratulations. Like, you go from that to like having a competitive game against Toronto that you still sweep them. I don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying. I see it, but it's also silly.
It says more about Toronto than it does about Shanghai.
Yes,
it says that Toronto is competitive. I agree.
Yes.
Like, isn't that a good thing?
That's my peace offering to chat, right? If you use that argument in order to say that Toronto is good, I have no beef with you. If you use that argument in order to say Shanghai isn't good or as good as we think, then we got a problem. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. It's how you use it, Chad. It's how you use it.
Shanghai played Dallas today, so still time to see what's going on there. We'll preview in a sec. We got to move along because we got to get to those previews. We've got one more game. I don't want to spend a shitload of time on this because we do got to get those previews done. So I'm gonna say 7 minutes. We focus on this next one for 7 minutes because I want to do the previews at the half.
Sounds good.
The halfway point or the half hour point. Okay. Final match that we had during the day was Hangzhou Spark versus Philly. Someone go.
I thought this was going to be a little bit more rough around the edges for Philly in particular because of the COVID situation, right?
Yeah.
That's never good. And that sucks that, we have a team that is having to deal with COVID. But let's be honest, guys. Like, when you're sick, you probably don't play as good. Like, So I didn't have expectations for Philly coming into this. I think with their game against Seoul to close out the regular, stage, the regular season, I don't know how to make that any more clear. Like that victory over Seoul, that's impressive. That's like, oh, holy shit. Like we've got a story coming into this tournament, because you go back and look at our kind of preview episode for this event. This was not a game that I think we all agreed on. Like it could have gone either way. It depends on, a couple different things. Does MN3 show up? And then boom, COVID. It's like, all right, well, throw it out the window. Like you can't, it's hard to argue for this team. That said, I was pleasantly surprised a few different ways. I think there was some rough points, but all things considered, I was pleasantly surprised, and this may be like kind of falling on deaf ears a little bit, but I was pleasantly impressed with Bellisria's wrecking ball. I thought like mechanics wise, this kid was fucking moving all over the place.
Double boot kill on this map, right? It was pretty hot.
Yeah, it was. I was like, dang, okay, this kid's got some juice. Like he can play the Rhine, he can come out and play the Winston. He's got a ball apparently. Like this kid needs some credit.
He's a super underrated player, because he was one of those guys. Like I remember when he first got announced, and all the particularly Fusion fans like, who is this guy? Why couldn't we get Smurf? Like, oh, we got another rookie, and it's like, bro, he's good, man. He's one of Jin's boys from T1. Like, come on, like you got to give him a little bit more credit. Like MN3 and Zest worked out. I think Bellisri is, like, he's not winning MVP, but goddamn, like he's not the reason you're losing. He's absolutely never the reason you're losing, I feel. As he had some rough games, but yeah, there's that boot, by the way. Everyone on this team certainly has. And even this series, like, we'll get to the MN3 discussion. Fuck it, I'll just start it.
Sure.
He played one of his, not only just his best game, but like one of anyone's best game ever versus Seoul in their final matchup. And it was going to be nigh impossible to reach that peak again, because that was like once in a lifetime performance. That being said, I think the Circuit Royale was fucking insane.
That circuit was hot. Yeah.
I think people maybe expected him, I don't know, I think people rings ball enough to maybe expect that he won't just repeat that performance every single game. But he definitely got made very mortal versus Shy in the series.
Yep. And that's tough.
I don't think like people realize how big the problems for Philly were internally, because, and I don't want to talk too much, but there's a universe, Backbone and Boneback, right? Mm-hmm. There's a world where you get Carpe and Pika, and
I don't like that. That has a terrible mouthfeel. Picar, really?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a little gross. I don't like that.
You can infer like that Carpe could have played out of position or something, like if it's...
Well, what about like salmon? Like you have Carpe and salmon, that's just like the fish. No, Picar, really? Is that what we got? You're the writer. Come on.
It's not even Carpe backwards, technically.
No.
By the way, everyone... Can we talk about how everyone is using mirrors wrong? Like, how did this meme become that? Like the mirror meme where people go like,
like bone back, bone.
Yeah, but you know how mirrors work, right? Like it would have to flip the literal letters of like the word in order to also display the thing that you're doing on the images. Like I don't know.
But that's harder and less funny.
Yeah, that's harder. That's the problem. Like
you know what else is harder? Trying to fucking match up with Alfie. Just saying, my amateur team, my rookie team is feasting.
Oh my god,
feasting! First pick twice in a row. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, why
you picked Alfie? Oh.
Bro, why are you trying to get credit when Shy was literally like a fucking pack camel in this match?
I've got investments there too. Like I'm feasting these individual player stock exchanges. Like they're paying out dividends, bud.
Yeah, but if for Shy we didn't have a competition, and therefore I'm willing to grant you this one.
Okay, then I've been granted. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Shy does not.
So yeah. I think Philly this game. There was a stat. So both Alfie and Shy play phenomenal. I felt like Zest was maybe a bit quiet this game, which is a little out of character for him. He's usually like an Omega hard carry. He's actually been a bigger carry this year than MN3 has over the course of the whole season. But he was characteristically a little bit quiet. It's not just because he wasn't playing his signature Genji, but I also felt like his Tracy is usually better. Alpha E looked like the better play today. I think the Alpha E versus Zest race is one of the most interesting to me, because they are very close in terms of hype surrounding them in a way, and they're also very close in skill level, and they both produce some of the most epic plays that we've seen on their respective heroes, and they have the same hero pool as well, which is super exciting to watch. But Alpha Yi's Tracer today was like really, really good. I feel like his Tracer has been improving very nicely over time.
Steadily.
We got to finish up on this topic now because we're about to hit the mark. But yeah, I felt like Spark integrating Yushui on the Winston picks a bit more has been pretty helpful. You know, they didn't play Liga again. I don't really mind. I feel like just rotating 2 tanks is hard enough. Rotating 3 tanks is fucking
3 is
I'm glad they also took map number 4 to Colosseum and not New Queen Street. Good on Changun for that, because that would have been a good map for MN3. The one area that Spark definitely need work on is I think Shy's Widowmaker is not up to par. He needs to be better than that. His Sojourn is insane. I had a tweet out that said, I currently believe that Shy has the best Sojourn in the world, especially considering that Kai has kind of fallen off a bit. Merit's looking really good, don't get me wrong, but like the kind of bullshit that Shy does is exactly that. It's bullshit. I think Merit is like a very clean, you know, very what is it? Lawful good kind of Sojourn, like everything he does is like, okay, well that's expected. But Shy is like the chaotic, he's like a chaotic evil Sojourn, where like, what is this bullshit that he gets? How is he doing this bullshit? Like, he constantly has above 70% hit rate on his right clicks as well for Sojourn, which is just unreal. Like, that's the highest in the league. That's easily the highest in the league.
And like, I look at Shy and I remember him, like, shout out to the real ones who like remember him on like LGD. Like, I remember saying that verbatim, like, well, how does this kid just pull off this bullshit? Like, we talk about Shanghai having championship, like, gas tank caliber, like, they have, like, the stamina to go to the distance. Shy just, like, pulls shit out of his ass sometimes. It's like, okay, yeah, down 3-2, you just sweep them all. Like, okay, yeah, that's just Shy things, you know? Like, he's a superstar. And, like, I'm glad that he's finally... I think he got some recognition last year, but I think people are like waking up to like how fucking good this kid is.
Final thoughts, Yiska, before we move on to previews?
Yeah, I think like this is there wasn't an extraordinary result. I think we know that Philly is inconsistent. It's also worth pointing out. I think 4 of the 5 people that were in this match had COVID. So
yep,
you know,
I mean, you didn't get the play cams. The reason why is because they're all playing from home.
They're all sick.
No cam setups and they're sick.
Yeah.
That sucks. It's unfortunate.
All right, well, let's get into previews then. Let me bring up the bracket really quickly, and then we will get this shit squared off.
You guys ready to watch Yiska hate me?
It is. Could someone tell me what the actual order of the games are?
They are Shock London in roughly 30 minutes. Shout out to anybody who listening beforehand or after the fact.
Here we go. I got it. So, Houston Outlaws, Gladiators.
Oh, they changed it. Okay.
London, Spitfire, Shock, Shanghai Dragons, Dallas Fuel, Hangzhou, Spark, Seoul Dynasty.
There we go.
Top down, what do we got? How do we feel great about Houston now after their win? To be fair, they kind of stomped on Mayhem, which didn't look very good. So I don't know, is that like take it with a grain of salt sort of situation?
I think Houston's good enough for like 1, but like again, Glads are like, you go back and listen to our previous episode, like I still believe Glads are one of the top 3 teams here. This should be, you know, we've seen this matchup before, if memory serves. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this should be pretty light work for them. I think Houston are good for 1, but this should be like a 3-1 Glads. Glad should.
Are we, by the way, surprised that Shock didn't pick Houston to pick London? Because I think we all assumed they were going to pick Houston because London were like kind of a scary team, and maybe Houston were a little bit easier for Shock. But I don't know, maybe.
I would say it's a little weird, but like not out of the picture, like not out of the realm of possibility.
Does it feel like A1, A2 kind of thing? Like either would have been a fine pick.
Yeah, London just seems tricky.
Or is there like a direct, like this is the correct pick, and they fucked up, or what?
No, I'm not mad at either.
Okay. Because to me, it was always going to be this. It was always going to be Shock either pick Houston or London, then Glads pick the other one. That to me was always going to happen. And then I knew Seoul would absolutely pick Spark.
Ended with Shanghai.
Because there's no chance they want to play Shanghai early, so Dallas were always going to get Shanghai.
Exactly.
So the only matches I felt were like toss-ups were the first 2. But okay, so we do favor Glads here. Do we feel like Houston have much of a chance here? Can they make this close? One of those Houston will 3-2s, 2-3s rather.
Oh, there would have to be some crazy big lifting, like Merritt's got to do some shy bullshit to get this across the line, because like again you're fighting against like the defending North American representing like melee champions, who look like they have a deep playbook. They have a very competitive roster. They can match you pound for pound, so it's not something that you can just diff them on. It has to be something strategic. And then you look at the Glads and you probably have to say that they have the deeper strategy mind, right? Like it's gonna have to be some heroics if Houston makes this close.
Right on.
Yeah, I think actually I see a world where there was a fuck up by Shock picking London, but we'll get to talk about it in the next match. But yeah, no, I think Gladiators. I talked to a bunch of teams before, and I think most people still have Gladiators as like the favorite to take this entire tournament.
Sure.
So yeah, I feel like it's an unfortunate draw for Houston here. I don't think there's really any probability that I feel like it's like an 85-15 or something.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, I think Glads drop a map. I don't think this is a clean win. So
Agreed.
here we go. Everyone can apply the same logic they applied to Shanghai and say that Gladiators are mid. No, but on a serious note, I think both Houston are a good enough team to take maps or a map, and Gladiators are the type of team that this is not a 3-0 team. I don't think Gladiators 3-0 stomp people either. They commonly drop maps. This happens a lot to Gladiators. Yep. So if I was to do a raw pick'em where I feel like has the best chance of winning in terms of like being accurate, 3-1 would not be a bad shout here. Even a 3-2. I think even 3-2 because Houston have a history going to 5s as well.
Could do.
But I think 3-1 mostly because Gladiators generally to me have a better read of the game. And I will even go and say this, my official pred is that Houston win map 1, Glads win 2, 3, 4.
Ooh. Full control. Okay.
I do.
I'm not mad at that.
I do think that.
Mad at that. They've been a little suspect on push, so that checks out.
I wonder what map 4 is going to be as well, because you ideally don't want to go to Widow map versus Arns, right? I feel like Merit probably doesn't want to snipe versus Arns. So if Houston have map 4 pick, what do they
Can't
go
be
to?
Jibby then, right? You don't want to deal with Jibby point A?
Jibby is still an Arns map. I think maybe even... No, Dorado is too. Fuck.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, maybe you go Jib. Maybe I think you go Jib.
Okay.
No, wait. Do you go Jib? You're playing to Ryan as Winston a little bit here. Fuck, there's no like obviously good choice.
There's no like good map.
Maybe actually, you know what? Maybe you do go to Circuit because you get to play Sigma for Piggy. You just go Piggy versus Space, right? And hope it goes well. Maybe that is the right call.
Not mad at that. Yeah. Not mad at that.
The problem is like you got to be concerned about Arns. Like that's it. Sigma is one thing, but the Widow matchup is like a make or break on that map. So it's a tough call for Junkbuck. It's a really tough call. Not gonna lie.
Yep, it'll be competitive. I mean, I look at some of these. Yeah. I look at some of these like lower bracket matches, like not to write off Houston completely, but like they have like a nice little streak depending on where they're seated. Like this lower bracket is going to be like mega competitive.
Oh yeah, I mean when you have the top 12 teams in the world. Let's go over to London versus Shock. Yiska, why don't you start us off because you had an opinion on this choice?
Yeah, I think okay. So, I mean, Shock is definitely favorite. Like, let's not kid ourselves, right? I still think Houston is the more conservative choice because, like, I feel like there's something to be said about London just on LAN. I think, if anything, if I'm looking at social media, if I'm looking at how people, behave at the venue, I think there's more reason to believe that Houston will be impacted by the environment than the Spitfire will be. I happen to have some scrim insights. It really surprised me that they picked Spitfire.
He got the
He's still huffing them, baby. He doesn't learn. He just doesn't learn.
I enjoyed the meme about like Krusty picking the team, and then you have Kosaurus the Angel on one shoulder and 9K the Devil on the other shoulder. And the joke I made on my costume yesterday was like, Kosaurus like, don't do it. Don't pick Shanghai. We don't need the Soul team right there. Just pick the easy team. And 9K on the other shoulder was like, do it, you fucking pussy. Take them down.
I mean, that would have been fucking content to like the salty run back.
But then Krusty just goes down the middle. Is like, okay, you know, we take London.
Yeah.
So.
Also, like if they legitimately lose this, can't help but feel that was then.
Could be.
Like that's a pretty big blunder in terms of picking opponents.
It would have been a blunder for last year for Shanghai as well, but Moon just has gigantic titanium nutsack, so I guess it's different. Okay, so you think Shock should have gone to Houston? Okay, but let's talk about how they'll do versus Spitfire. What's the history versus Spitfire? They generally have beaten them. I have to check their.
Yes, I think they've played once in May, and I think like the Ike was close, but it was still a 3-0. Granted, different meta, you know. Less refined Spitfire, yada yada, but yeah, they've played before and it mildly competitive, but it's still a sweep.
Will Shock try and match this Ryan, or that feels like a foolhardy thing for anyone to do, right?
No, this is going to be a ball into Ryan.
This is going to be either Cole Huge playing Doom versus Hardy, or it'll be Cole Huge versus Hardy for the chat off, or it's going to be Mikey playing ball, right? It's got to be that. Mikey playing some ball versus.
I think it's the ball. I think this is like a really fun style one.
This is a mega hot take. This one's fucking fire.
Ooh, are we aligned?
I think. This is going to be so wrong. I'm going to be so wrong about this, but I think the London Spitfire backline could compete with the San Francisco Shock backline supports. That's a fucking That's a fucking fire take. I understand.
That is
an omega spicy take.
You gotta explain that one to me.
The reason for that is because I think Shock playing either Doom or Ball is going to get potentially counted hard by how good London were in their backline's ability to deal with those tanks.
Okay,
that's my position.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not saying London's 3 supports, including Boneback, are better than Finn Violet. That's not what I'm saying. But I think their ability to deal with either Mikey or Kaluge is a huge boon for London Spitfire. It means that the matchup is a fair one for London, where I think those 2 players on the Shock are dealable from the London from the support line.
I'm translating for the average Joe. Hardy better than San Francisco tank line in this meta. Backline, therefore boosted. You know.
Nice. Thank you. As representative of all average Joes, that made a lot of sense.
Is our Joe average, above average, or below average for a Joe?
Guys, come on. I am the most average person you have ever met.
So he is you are the
I am the definition of milquetoast. You look me up and there's just me.
You're a quintessential average Joe. I get it.
Yes. Okay. That is me.
I
thought I had a brother in arms here. I thought I had somebody, you know, to rally with. I had a fellow banner carrier, but I think it's coming home. I think London wins.
Oh,
yes.
But that's even spicier than what I said.
It's spicier, baby. I ordered the hot curry.
You had the one.
You got the DM 2 hours ago.
No. I mean, maybe, but that has no reflection on my choice, right?
Sure.
We look at you're not gonna come for me, you little shill. Look at what did we say last week? AVRL, you put this in my head while this kid was pissing, right? While this kid was out and away complaining like, oh, where's the NA representation? APEC bias, man. And this motherfucker ups and leaves. He just leaves and he's like, why did you guys pick APEC?
Why did London beat Shock?
So, Shock, a lot of rookies having to travel.
London
big stage. London have rookies, but we've seen their performance thus far.
We've seen Shock's performance.
We have exactly. We've seen Shock's performance. They struggle against Justice last stage, right? And I don't think that Shock play up to their potential when it comes to LAN, right? And I think that has to do with their rookies not necessarily performing when it matters.
I have a fix. What they do is they turn all the tables around and all a Shock play against the wall instead of facing the they're playing against the wall. That way they can simulate in their brain that it's actually online.
Yeah. I think that, again, it's not stylistic things because I agree in the long run, Brawl probably falters to the ball if eventually. However, there are a lot of orbiting factors. You have NA player travel. You have like as much as this shouldn't matter, I think it does matter for players that like, what does London have to prove? Shock should not lose to London, but you look at their performance yesterday against Atlanta, who might, admittedly weren't great. I think this is going to be a whole lot closer, and I think London probably edges this out.
Okay, I'm translating for the average Joe again. Nuki has a gun. I fear for my life.
That's not true. That's not true. I am not paid by Jack. Nuki has not hashtag ad. I genuinely think that this is upset potential. Ring the alarm, ring the bells. Like if you've predded this, if you still need to make preds, which I don't think that's even possible. I think this is a dangerous game to prediction. This is dangerous. Shock.
I don't think this is going to be one side. I think London will make it competitive.
Yes.
I don't think London get more than one map. Wait, can they? I think London are heavily favored on Colosseo if they can get Colosseo.
Mm-hmm.
But if they
and then
Colosseo,
obviously Circuit's rough.
But if we get Colosseo, they will make it a map. But the problem for them is Colosseo's map 4. If we go there, so they have to already be in a situation where they have to win something early on, and they have to be in a position to pick Colosseo because I don't think Shock will pick it.
No.
So, and I think London lose Escort. So what did London win then? Who's the highest seed? Shock. So Shock pick.
Shock.
Here's the problem. We go down my drafting strategy.
Yes.
Shock pick Ilios.
Agreed.
London lose. London pick.
Yep.
King's
Whatever.
Rhino.
Ike.
And then they maybe win. No, they don't pick Ike.
Probably.
They pick they pick one of the good hybrids. Like Midtown is pretty good for Ryan.
Sure, that too.
And then they lose to Shock on. Fuck it, Circuit Royale again.
Yep.
And then they pick Colosseo and maybe win, and then we go to a map 5 and Shock pick Oasis and win. So this entire thing is extremely dependent on London winning map 2.
100%. I agree wholeheartedly that the skeleton that you previously laid out is a perfect way to tackle London. My issue with Shock in particular is that I do not think they're showing up at full potential. We saw it last stage, and I don't think Mikey coming in is going to just like make this team completely better. I think regular season, that's different. When you have to board a plane, you have to travel to Hawaii, you have to go through media day, like that wears on you. Are you going to be able to show up and play?
Yeah, but London have to travel here from the UK.
They have to. They're not from.
I'm joking, guys.
I know. Like I think there is reason to believe that Shock are not showing up in their best form. Do I think this is close? 100%. I think London.
Give me a score.
Could make it upset.
What do you
think it's 3-2 London. I think 3-2 London.
So they go to map 5.
I think it's a game 5
win map 5.
Yes.
Okay.
This man won't have me have one hot take where I'm saying like, maybe this was a mistake to pick them. He's like, no, it's London. I'm betting my house.
All right, Yiska, your turn to calm everyone down. Be the voice of reason here.
This is going to be close, but like it's a close 3-1 Shock on most of the multiverses. And then I'm going to feel very bad because now I'm getting dunked on by Joe and Nuki. If they
trust me, bro. If London wins this game in about like 45 minutes, you're getting memed on. Like you expect a Twitter video.
The problem is it's not the next game. It's the game after.
Whatever.
So, right.
An hour and whatever it is.
You want to hear my pred?
Let's hear it.
It's going to be a close game, but it's going to be a Shanghai-Toronto type of close game, which means it's 3-0. The reason why it's going to be 3-0 because I know Shock will take London to a very uncomfortable map for them, and I actually think Shock will get the win on the hybrid as well. I think even if London take it to Midtown, I think Shock will get the win on that, and then it doesn't matter what Escort London pick, Shock will win that one. So I actually don't think we make it to map 4. I think realistically, like I'm running through the algorithm in my brain, I think London are heavily required to win map 2 to even have a chance, and I'm just going to say that I think Shock will just win map 2 and it'll close out, because I don't think London can win map 3 or map 1 or 3 here. I think London's good maps 2 and 4, they can't win 1 and 3, which means if they don't win 2, they're out of the series, and I just think that I'll just say my pred is they lose 2 and they're out.
Fair. I agree. Like map 2 is a must.
Don't agree.
Like if you don't win map 2, you lose. I agree in the logic that like map 2 is like a litmus test of like if you're gonna make this close, you have to win map 2. If you can't win map 2, let's pack it up.
Shanghai Dallas. London are good on Lee Jung. They're not going to get Lee Jung because Shock are not going to pick Lee Jung.
They're not.
Next series, Shanghai versus Dallas.
I want this to be good, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it's not going to be great. Is that weird to say?
I have a problem with Dallas's Lucio Moria stuff, and I think if they continue running that, they're going to run into big problems in this matchup.
Yep.
Here's the thing. If Shanghai win this, I think Dallas will make it close, just like Toronto did. And then people will be like, "Oh, Shanghai mid because they 3-0 Dallas." I'm like, "All right, good logic there." Fantastic Reddit logic. But yeah, I don't know. I think Dallas will make it close. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be 3-0 for. Will it? What map will Dallas win? Let me have a link. What map will Dallas win?
Maybe there's some like control.
Maybe the first one. I think Lucio Moria is actually okay on control. I think on control, Lucio Moria has value. I think beyond that, it gets a little bit meh for me. That's assuming they even continue playing the Lucio Moria and Rush has maybe learned his lesson and be like, maybe don't play this.
I would say they've definitely trimmed it back. You know, sometimes I peruse our YouTube comments, and somebody definitely was pointing out like, hey, like, what are you talking about? Like, they don't play a whole lot of Lucio Moria. I'm like, I don't think that's right. And I found some clips, but it definitely less than I expected. So I feel like Dallas is trimming it back. But I agree. Like, I think you can kind of tailor a control map archetype to, you know,
Dallas
down some
also get the
Lucio
map
Moria.
pick as well. So I feel like because they get map 1 pick, and that's assuming they continue playing Lucio Moria, that is a reasonable place for Lucio Moria to actually succeed. I'll give them a 1-3 here. Shanghai win 2-3-4, but Dallas get number 1.
Yep. That's verbatim. 100% agree.
Sure. Yeah.
Hangzhou Spark Salt, unless you got something to add.
No. I think that I wish both teams were in better condition.
Yeah, agreed. I want this to be good. Like, I want this to be like the grand final preview, like the El Clasico of, you know, the international competition, like it always kind of has been. But as it stands right now, I just don't know that Dallas is up to snuff. So agreed.
Okay, Hangzhou versus Seoul. Well, this should be a cleanup for Seoul. Yes. Seoul should be the much better team. Yes.
No, Joe. You gotta tell me some bullshit here. Come, where's the Alpha Yi shy shilling?
Okay. Look, like, yeah, I'm gonna stick to my guns, but like, you're fighting Prophet. Like, let's be honest. You're fighting Smurf. Let's be honest.
Are fighting proper.
Like,
anyway. Sorry.
Sure, but that's one incredible godlike mini faker player and a bunch of rookies that maybe shit their pants. I don't know.
Soul versus Hangzhou.
That's Corsaurus, I hear you.
Soul versus Hangzhou.
Yeah, it's a Soul cleanup. Like, I love me some Shy Alpha Yi, and I think they're gonna make this like a very exciting and entertaining match, but I'm kind of over the Sigma. I'm kind of over, you know, some slow play. I think Soul's gonna, you know, they're gonna clean this up. It's not gonna be close. I think it's gonna be a 3-1 with some exciting little flashy moments from Spark, but it's to the losers bracket. It's see you later.
I wish he was consistent.
What do you mean? I wish? Shut up. No, it's not gonna be close. It's gonna be a 3-0.
Oh.
3-0 Soul.
Yiska's got pain in his face from that.
Like, give me something to chew on. Like, if you're gonna like bitch at me for London, like, at least London's like shown up, been good, right? Maybe upsetting teams.
Shown up? What do you mean?
They beat up on the COVID team. Like, come on. You feel bad for Philly. They're sick.
Hangzhou's regular season record is really good.
It is. That's fair. But, like, is it good against Seoul in the head-to-head? I would suspect it's probably not. Seoul look fantastic right now. We've seen this matchup before.
They've lost to Seoul twice now.
Yeah, like, we've seen this game.
Times,
we've seen it played out.
There's also Kick Close tournament.
I'm good. Like, this is a skip one. This is a VOD game for me. I'm not watching it live.
I feel like there's a map that Shy Alpha you pull out some bullshit. I feel like there's a map that
could be. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
You know, I just realized I've sold PTSD. Like, because like there's still some trauma in me where I'm thinking like, I mean, okay, Seoul might be the best team in the world, but this is Seoul. They absolutely have the capacity to just 3-0 bomb this game and like, you know, like. Are you sure you're not
referring Philly, right? Like, you're not.
No.
Mistaken.
Seoul can do this as well. Like, for sure.
This Soul? This form Soul?
Yeah, no, not this Soul, but like there's still some soul in there.
So the soul in Soul means that they.
I remember my soul leaving my body watching Soul games.
Gotcha.
It's a Souls-like experience.
In the Soul Society.
I'm
We are a society of souls.
I'm going to say that one loss to Hangzhou, so to Philly doesn't.
No.
It doesn't sour my taste for Soul, because I feel like that was MN3 playing like a god, and there was nothing Soul can do when MN3 is that good. So
and
I'm going to say
Shy diff MN3, therefore by transitive property.
That's how that works.
I feel like Hangzhou are not a pushover team. I will give them 1. I'm struggling to find out which one, because I don't think it's as clear cut in terms of like matchup specifically. Because I think, but APAC versus APAC is a lot more even in terms of matchup because they all play the same shit.
Yeah.
But I will say 3-1 to Seoul because I feel like Hangzhou are a capable enough team. But I think Seoul should be mega favored. Yeah.
Agreed.
Realistically, all I want these results today to produce are very good,
Yes.
like matches coming into the next round. Please do that. Whatever that means. Like, if Shock loses, then Seoul has to lose as well. That's my rule.
So you're taking one with you?
Do we have anything further to do? Are we doing? Is there like a? We're not going to do a play of the week or anything now. I think we're basically finished here. We're 5 minutes.
We're pretty
left.
much done.
So, is there a final shout out, Joe, in terms of activation to get
Sure.
the player?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you want to support the show, head on over to juke.gg. We have our official account set up. We're going to be posting all kinds of content over there. This partnership works really well because I think we all, I think I speak for us all when I say that, you know, this product is actually pretty important and actually we do believe in it. But this time we're actually, you know, working with them. If you are interested in multi esports, I would heavily recommend this. Okay. If you are interested in catching all of Contenders and having push notifications to your phone that like, hey, Contenders A side's up. Hey, Contenders, you know, B side Korea is up. Like, oh shit, like it's constantly surprising me of all of the like esports that are happening all at once that maybe I wasn't paying attention to, and you still get like some long form discussion. So if that's something you like, I feel like it is because you're a fan of the show, just saying, head on over there, check it out, and like and subscribe, all that stuff.
All right, well, I'll run some of the final moments of Watchpoint here as they get ready, but we're about to head into the actual we'll take a look at their Preds as well.
Yeah,
we're
let's see the
about
Preds.
to head into Ovely's a believer. Oh my god.
Let's go, Ovely. Let's go, Ovely.
We're about to get into the actual co-stream now, so thank you so much for hanging up for episode 249 live. This will go up on YouTube and Spotify sometime down the line very soon, hopefully. So thanks for supporting. We're going to head over and do the co-stream now. So that's the end of the episode. Cheers. We'll see you next time.